Nothing's going to bother you at Land's End. The quietest spot on the whole island. Just the wind and the surf and the birds.
When the tide rolled in last night, so did the birds. I could see them from the tower.
You and I both know there's something going on around here, don't we?
We do?
The Birds 2, Land's End, takes the pulse-pounding fear unleashed in the unforgettable classic to new heights of unrelenting terror. Brad Johnson, Chelsea Field, and Tippi Hedren, star of the original classic, battle to survive one of nature's most horrifying invasions. The Birds 2, Land's End is sure to be a hit with your customers, since this classic sequel has widespread built-in audience appeal that spans generations. And MCA Universal Home Video is offering an awesome Birds 2 pre-pack offer. Buy 3 units of the Birds 2 Land's End and receive an official Jurassic Park glow-in-the-dark t-shirt, a $20 value. Also, a trailer for the Birds 2 Land's End will appear on a 1994 fourth quarter preview reel, and all rental cassettes of Phantasm 3, creating anticipation and instant impact for this exciting new release. Stock up now on this heart-pounding thriller, The Birds 2 Land's End from MCA Universal Home Video. And now, here's a special behind-the-scenes look at the making of The Birds and The Birds 2 Land's End.
On this program, we're going to take a revealing look at The Birds 2 Land's End. We'll go on location, take you behind the scenes, talk to members of the cast and crew, and even have a surprise or two. I must tell you that over the years, so many people have shared their affection for the first Birds movie with me. Few movies, particularly in the horror film genre, have stood the test of time like the original The Birds. So before we give you an exciting look at The Birds 2 Land's End, we're first going to take a fascinating look back at the movie that started it all, Alfred Hitchcock's 1963 classic, The Birds. Little did I know what I was getting myself into. I worked 6 months straight with only one afternoon off. In fact, Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds was an amazingly difficult undertaking on many levels. First, there were over 350 special effects shots, an unheard of number in 1963. One of the hardest jobs went to bird trainer Ray Berwick, who was brought in to train a company of reluctant fledglings to perform in ways that had never before been attempted. The climax of The Birds takes place in the attic of the Brenner house, which has just been under siege. It took us an entire week to shoot what ends up as a couple of minutes on the screen. It was the hardest week of my life. I got a bad omen right from the start when Hitch and I got into a tiff over why the scene was necessary in the first place. After all, this poor girl has already suffered through several frightening bird attacks. Why would she go looking for more trouble? Hitchcock responded to my query with characteristic aplomb. Because I tell you to. I was supposed to find only mechanical birds when I opened that door, but it was determined just before we shot that only real birds would give Hitchcock the effect we needed. So I stood there as stage hands threw live birds at me. Neither the birds nor I are acting in this scene. We both are truly terrified. On the final day of shooting, they actually tied some of the birds to my body, so they couldn't fly away so quickly.
Hi.
Hello. You must be the folks out at the old Holman place, right?
That's us.
Well, nothing's going to bother you at Land's End. It's the quietest spot on the whole island. Just the wind and the surf and the birds. The Birds 2, Land's End, features all new characters in an all new setting. Brad Johnson and Chelsea Field play Ted and May Hucken, a married couple who have lost a child in an auto accident. Hoping to get away from it all, Ted and May, along with their 2 daughters, rent a summer house on an isolated spot known as Gull Island. But soon their dream vacation becomes a terrifying nightmare. I'm not the only one with a connection to the past on the Birds 2 Land's End. Gary Giroux, the bird trainer on this picture, was once a protege of the late Ray Berwick, the man who did such a magnificent job on the original.
I went to work for Ray Berwick, the man who was responsible for training the birds in the first movie, just at the end of that movie. And then I worked for him for 13 years. We've trained a flock of a couple hundred pigeons to go from one box to another box, so we can fill the frame with flying birds. If you analyze this show shot by shot by shot, is birds either going to a place or birds flying through the scene to the trainer or to a box. Some of the raven attacks, the trainers are actually running in the scene and the ravens are just flying, the trainers landing on the shoulder and they get a treat. But the trainer then makes it look like he's being attacked.
For some of the close-up shots, the filmmakers called upon puppeteers to work their magic. Even though he looks amazingly lifelike, this is not a dead raven that has been stuffed. This bird was built from scratch. No pun intended.
What happened?
Another goddamn bird, look.
A major difference between the 2 Birds movies is that in the original, the bird attacks are never fully explained. This time around, it's made clear that an oil slick, the product of man's callous disregard for the environment, is the catalyst that sets off the bird's onslaught. In the climactic scene, the residents of Gull Island are waiting for a ferry to take them to safety when the birds mount a massive assault. To get the desired effect, Gary set up his cages on both sides of the set. Just like their human counterparts, the pigeons come into frame on cue. Add a loud explosion, and suddenly the filmmaker's apocalyptic vision comes to life.
Go!
I'm Tippi Hedren, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks for watching this preview of our new releases. Now stay with us for our feature presentation.